Chapter 3, Episode 4. Dr. Silverstein was a big baseball fan. Not so uncommon in the United States of sports fans. Sally was to kill him at the game. Any game would do, if possible. If not, she could take him after the game. Sally and Billy were up for the challenge. Billy was responsible for reconnaissance and planning. First objective was to look at the park, so they both bought a Miami Merlin hat. Fish shed. Sally laughed at him. Dr. David Silverstein had an appointment at the Casablanca on the bay at the Hilton Grand Hotel. Sally had been tempted to kill him then and there, but instead listened to Billy and waited. Enjoy the afternoon sun and walk along the water. When Billy was certain Sally was under her own control and prepared, he left her to go to the game. Sally followed her mark at a safe distance, making all the moves as a seasoned tourist. She saw her reflection in a store window and was a little surprised to see a grown woman. Her hair was short and dyed brown to look plain under her Merlin's hat. She had no makeup. She wore flat shoes, faded but not ripped jeans, and a thick cotton pullover to make her figure less noticeable. Under her breast was a traditional knife of the particular clan that was to be responsible for the assassination. Amar would be implicated. All men are rapists, or something approximating that. Sally forgot what the acronym stood for. She also didn't care. It wasn't her concern, not where she was focused. She kept her head down to avoid surveillance cameras. She checked her smart device to see if she had any messages. The only messages would be from Billy. No one else knew her. His messages were all a little vague, but they had been texting for over a year to get to know each other's messages. There was no one around to suspect her intent. She was just another student. I studied political protocol at the University of Miami. Dr. David Silverstein had two fairly conspicuous bodyguards, business associates. They went everywhere with the doctor. He was rich and paranoid. It made him the hardest of the two hits in Miami. Getting close enough to kill him relied on his need to piss. Tickets? Who needs tickets? Sally sauntered up behind her hit as he started haggling for free tickets. She couldn't believe he had already bought his tickets. He was acting the stereotypical Jew, as those old stories told, trying to save a few bucks. She almost laughed. She didn't. She paid attention to avoid getting noticed while Dr. David Silverstein made his bid. But the game had already started. It is still the first inning. I'll likely lose my last ticket. They finally settled on a price. After they had taken their leave, Sally finished in her pocket for some cash. The scalper watched her. You're alone. Sally looked at the scalper quickly, then back at her hand full of small bills. It's my last ticket. I'd love to see the game, but I haven't got too much money. Oh, for fuck's sake. I studied political science at the University of Miami. Just moved here. The scalper didn't care where Sally was from or where she was going. He took the money and gave her the ticket before she started telling him about her sick grandmother and her operation that she couldn't afford. The ticket was for the seat next to her hip, so sitting down there was out of the question. She made herself as invisible as possible and wandered around keeping an eye on Dr. David Silverstein. It was an incredible place. She watched people buying big paper cups of various carbonated sugar beverages and natural chips with orange stuff on them, hot dogs and chips. Billy texted that he had visuals. That gave Sally a little more flexibility. He went to the woman's washroom to check if the knife still sat right. If she perspired too much, the tape might slip from her skin. She was still in the washroom when Billy texted her that he saw a bird. Since Dr. David Silverstein was the only topic, he meant he might be going for a piss. He was getting out of his seat without his bodyguards. This could be her chance. Likely a washroom break. It was the only thing he would do on his own. For food and drinks, he would send one of his goons. Guards. Associates. Sally slipped her rubber gloves on inside the woman's washroom before slipping into a big hall to see who was watching the men's washroom. No one. The game was interesting enough, and there wasn't many leaving it. The crowd was loud and excited. Dr. David Silverstein must have really needed to piss. Sally slipped into the men's washroom and locked herself in a stall and removed the knife from under her breast. Sally listened for all the movements. Being caught in the men's washroom wouldn't be a big problem unless she was killing someone. The kill was only going to work if he was alone. A few more seconds went by with no sounds other than the humming of the overhead lights. One of the taps dripped slowly. The place smelled a little of piss, but mostly of disinfectant. Finally, the famous Dr. Silverstein entered the abattoir to relieve himself. He tried the door where Sally sat before entering the second next stall. He was going to sit to piss. That might not be good, but that couldn't be. Why he not use a urinal like everyone else? Sally thought about the circumcision and other Jewish traditions. She didn't know how much about penis rituals, but no, he was standing to piss. She left her stall and looked at the lock on the stall where Dr. David Silverstein was still pissing. It was locked. He wanted his privacy. No one was looking at his circumcised penis while he had it out in public. Sally looked up and down. She would have to choose one, and fast. No footsteps in the hall. Crowd still roaring. She went over the door with a knife in hand. Dr. David Silverstein heard her coming but wasn't quick enough to wonder about turning around while he was still pissing. He did look up to see movement, which only left his neck wide open for Sally. He was so flabbergasted and confused that he didn't even think to scream before it was too late. Sally fell on him with her knife around his neck. He smacked his head against the wall and was still pissing all over the toilet when he managed to stand up. He wasn't even certain, he was just imagining things until he realised his neck was open and gushing blood. He finally collapsed, face down, in the toilet. Sally took everything out of his pockets and was on her way out of the stadium. No one had noticed her wandering away, stopping to look at photos on the wall before dropping the knife into a garbage bin full of food waste. Later, she dropped her thin rubber gloves in a different garbage can outside the stadium, and then dropped the tape and the plastic bag and the knife had been into yet another bin block from the stadium. No one noticed because no one was looking for a protagonist to a crime for another 12 minutes when a fat man came out of the men's washroom screaming. She texted Billy when she was outside the stadium and off the grounds. Coffee. He was watching her from across the street and followed her for a while. He wanted to see if she could notice what an assassin looked like after her first kill. He then spotted her breaking the traffic and cross the road. How did it go? Well enough. I was freaking out a bit when I stood outside the stall and wondered if I should go under or over. After that, it just all went. How do you feel? Better. Billy nodded and checked the news feeds in his smart device while they took some time to relax in a park overlooking Dodge Island. They would spend the night in the Century Hotel at the south end of Miami Beach. The beach was nearby as well as a pleasant park right next to the water. Billy had booked it for a few days. Did you get some credit cards? Here, have a look. Sally gave Billy the doctor's wallet. Ah, very good. Oh look, he has a pile of cash. We can celebrate our first job. Half a job. You don't think we should celebrate? I think we should celebrate any time we want to. Where should we go? Somewhere on the beach, but first I have to do these transactions. They'll all be shut down soon. It would be a shame to waste his money. They relaxed on the park bench and Billy started on the credit cards. Sally stretched her legs out and smiled at Billy before looking to see what moved. How soon before you buy me a car instead of a steel one? Give me a few more minutes. Sally laughed and leaned her head against his shoulder. Take your time. I don't want a car, a nice restaurant. You know what I want. Sometimes. Sally waited until he was done with his business transactions. There seemed to be many of them. Sally watched Billy scan all the identification and all the cards. That she understood. After that, a cluster of things happened before Billy stopped his taping and looked at Sally. What do you want, Sally? Ostrich? Dead or alive?
I know.